refer to you, of course.
What did she say?
No,
She
this
said
is
it's
my
just
living
so
room.
weird
That was my son's bedroom.
to be
And this
sitting in
wall
my
here.
old
My kitchen
living
is back
room.
Oh,
there.
okay.
My
doing a
bedroom. My
podcast.
other.
That's
this is
interesting.
my
Oh,
apartment.
that's we'll
And we
address
need
that.
to talk about that room.
All right, I haven't looked in there.
It's not normal what's going on in there, and
What's
we
going
have
on
to
in
do
there?
some.
What the fuck is going on
It's
in there?
fucking ridiculous. We have to
That
do.
was a brand new couch.
But
There's
like
just
it
one
doesn't.
junk in there.
It doesn't. Why is that a
are you not
closet?
using that room?
But we could.
No, you can't. That's my room. Nobody's using that room. All right, so let's move on. Okay. I'm happy it's like that because nobody can be screwing around in there.
No, but it could be like an office.
No, I was gonna do a podcast of my own. And
Yeah.
I was gonna do this round couch with a table.
What are
in
you,
the middle.
Jada Pinkett Smith? You want the round table? What?
The round, but you know, I do love that show.
Oh, you do? No, I didn't.
Yeah, I've watched every episode.
Oh, this is gonna be such a good episode.
Ooh, all right.
Well, you should do your own podcast.
I don't
I've been telling you that forever, and you should also get that fucking couch out of that room. It's crazy.
I love that couch because you can put it together like a bed, and me and all of my 4 children can sleep in it together. That's why I love it.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Slept in there with all 4
Yeah,
kids?
New Year's Eve.
Oh.
I bring my kids down here. We all sleep here.
Okay, Nicole, whenever you're ready, let me know when.
Yeah,
I
you're
can-
good whenever.
I can go. Okay, this is Live from the Table, recorded at the world-famous Comedy Cellar, coming at you on Sirius XM 99 Raw Dog and on the Laugh Button Podcast Network. Dan Naturman here. Noam Dworman once again will not be joining us. He is around the corner doing a debate on the war in Ukraine. There are debates here at the Comedy Cellar from time to time. Noam is a political-oriented person. He is over at the debate. He will not be joining us. We have, however, Periel Aschenbrand with us. Periel, how do you do? Periel is our producer. She also is on air. And we've discussed how that evolved in previous episodes. We have Mia Jackson. Mia Jackson is a Comedy Cellar regular, a Georgian native, now living in New York City. Mia's first half-hour special available on Epix and her second half-hour special on Comedy Central. We also have, this is interesting, we have Noam Dworman's wife who asked if she could come and guest co-host, I guess, or
Yeah, sure.
however you want to classify her. Juanita Dworman is
Hello,
here.
everyone.
Juanita has a long history at the Comedy Cellar. She was a waitress here, a manager. She married the owner's son, who is now the owner, with whom she has 3 children. Welcome, Juanita, to our program.
Thank you for having me.
And Juanita used to live in this studio because this studio is Noam.
This studio used to be our old living room.
Now, you lived here with Noam?
Yeah, and my first son, Nicholas.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit different now, obviously.
Yeah, it's okay.
But there was plenty of debating and talking going on then, but nobody was listening.
Even back then.
What are we going to talk about this week? Well, I think it's obvious what we're going to talk about this week. It's a topic so huge that it knocked the war in Ukraine off the front page. The slap heard around the world, as it has been called, Oscar night. I don't have to review what happened because everybody knows what happened. The latest, I guess, is that Will Smith apologized via Instagram, saying that this is not the man he wants to be, and he apologizes to Chris. So I guess that's what we'll talk about, at least if not for the entire podcast.
Are we starting with the apology?
No,
No, I'm just trying to keep everybody up to date on the latest, and the latest is that Will Smith apologized. I mean, I think that happened yesterday, but I don't know if there's any. Is there anything new? Any new developments? I don't think so.
Well, Jada says it's a time for healing and she's ready for it.
Yeah,
They should do that way before the Oscars, but
there was an article today that said they did ask him to leave. That's what the Academy said.
They
said-
asked Will, and he just didn't leave.
Yeah, they said he refused. That's the newest thing that I saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
What does that mean?
interesting.
Asked him to leave.
And he
that's,
refused?
that's what the article said. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
oh.
yeah.
That's
That's
interesting.
the latest thing that I read.
Well,
That's like somebody's like stealing something from the store, and they're like, "Could you please stop stealing?" And they're like, "No." And they're
No,
like,
that's
"Okay."
not the same thing.
well, I
What do you mean? Asked him to leave? Kick him the fuck out.
Well, there's asked them to
Wow.
leave. Who knows? They might have said, "Look, Will, we think. I mean, think it might be better if you left. And Will might have said, no, I don't feel like leaving. They said, okay. I don't know how forcefully they asked him to leave.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They should have kicked him out.
Yeah, they also acknowledged that they were like, we didn't handle this the right way. That was that's what I skimmed over in the article. Like there were things they could have done.
I see a cover up here.
Well, the comedy community and perhaps most people in general are on the side of Chris Rock, saying that Will Smith, whatever Chris Rock's, however tasteless the joke arguably was, and that's another question. Will Smith went much, much too far. Even Will Smith is on the side of Chris Rock if you believe that his apology is sincere. However, not everybody is on the side of Chris Rock. Tiffany Haddish said that there are consequences. I forgot the word she used, but she implied that Will Smith was in the right. Others that you see on Twitter have made similar statements. Some bringing up the need to protect black women who are so often not protected. I've seen that said. Is there anybody here of that mind?
Well, I am a black woman, and for the people who are listening, I'm a black lady. You know what? So I'll say this. One, overall, I don't really have anything of value to add. I don't think just in general, because I feel like a lot of stuff has already been said. But I will say, I'm definitely on the side of Chris Rock, but I understand the sentiment behind what people are saying, like, oh, that was so nice that he protected his wife because of how black women are treated in America. And my dad is the type of person who would go punch somebody on my behalf, my sister's behalf, my mom. Like, I know that's so, so for me, I grew up with, being protected by my dad, and just, different men in my life and my family and things like that. But I do overall get why people are like, oh, that was a nice thing for him to have done. Like, I know where it comes from, but I don't think that was the way to do it, is what I'm saying. So I feel like it just could have, like, the whole thing is just a disaster. But like I said, I understand the sentiment. But he was wrong, though.
Well, we could argue whether it's ever justified to hit somebody for a joke, and we could argue whether it was justified for this particular joke. I mean, had he said something, were she suffering from cancer and this was chemotherapy related, I think he would have gotten a lot more sympathy.
No. I disagree.
You don't think he would have gotten more sympathy?
It's not.
Juanita has been chomping at the
Okay,
bit.
Juanita, if you're chomping.
We have at it.
Listen, I'm going to break it down. I don't need no man to punch somebody for me. If somebody says something, I'm going to punch you my damn self. That's number one. Number two, I'm not going to punch somebody over something they said. Okay? I mean, I was brought up that violence is only when you're trying to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? Words, I mean, he took it too far. He took it too far. And I think apology a day later was a little too late. It feels like it was coerced by whomever his posse is. And then the next day after that, Jada wrote something. But you know what? I'm going to buy the initial things that they wrote on Instagram before he sent that apology. He wrote something like, hey, Jada and I got all dressed up to start chaos. It was something in that respect. He wrote that on Instagram.
This was after the slap.
Right after the slap, they're like taking photos in this green room or something. And then he wrote like, he wrote something along the lines like, Philly and Baltimore, you can't bring us nowhere. That's where him and Jada are from. First of all this is street talk. This is not new to me. I come from that environment. You know what I mean? So, and the way that he even, listen, if he had got up there, slapped Chris, just walked back to his seat, I thought it was like a skit. I mean, especially the way that he slapped him. That's not like how you throw down. That was like some pussy ass, I have been in the movies a long time slap. You know what I mean?
Well, look, any slap, even if it's not a hard slap, is very significant. When you put your hand on another person publicly, especially a slap, whether or not it's hard or soft, you're making a very profound statement. You're basically saying
he absolutely did.
You're a
then
punk.
When he got to his seat and was like, keep my woman's name. That was so street. It was so like, it was such a disappointment to me. You know why? Because I'm big fans of Jada and Will. And I've watched every Red Talk episode because I feel like I could relate to them in a sense. I grew up in the same type of background that they have. And when this all went down, I was like, no,
Do you think that Chris even knew that Jada had a medical problem, or thought that this was just a hairstyle that she had,
I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew.
I don't think so.
I don't know Chris personally, but I know a lot of people who know him very well, and by all accounts, he's super kind and would never intentionally say something about somebody who was sick. I don't even know if she is sick. I want to say this though.
Yeah, I mean, alopecia is a condition. I don't know.
I don't know if she does. She have alopecia?
Yeah,
has that
she does.
been?
She's talked about it.
She does. She
Yeah.
has alopecia.
All right,
You know
Mazel
what?
Tov. So you have fucking alopecia. Okay,
It's not
I'm sorry.
a serious medical
Even
disease,
if it is, it
okay?
doesn't-
I have family members who have this same thing. You take some medication, your hair grows back.
Well, I don't.
It's not,
That's-
I mean, it's not
is
that serious. She's not
definitely not
dying from
true.
alopecia, okay?
I think that it might be a serious medical
It
condition.
is not a serious medical condition.
But even if it is, I want to say that people make jokes about 9/11. You make jokes about the Holocaust. Alopecia is not fucking off the table to make jokes about. You didn't like that joke. That's your business.
He did not make jokes about alopecia.
Whatever it was, you have no right to get up and fucking hit Chris Rock because you didn't like what he said. It's outrageous. At what point is somebody allowed to go to a stage and hit a comedian
Yes, it's
because
outrageous.
they made a joke that you didn't like? That is insane.
Yes, it's outrageous.
It is. And like I said, I just there have been so many takes on all of it. And, like I said, again, I feel like I really am I don't know what else I can say that hasn't already been said. But
Yeah.
I will say just for the overall thing to me that was extra disappointing in general was there were so many things involving there was a black producer. There were, 2 of the 3 co-hosts were black women. There were black writers on the staff, and Questlove winning an Oscar and all this stuff. And I was to me, it just all of it's wrong. All of it's just a big fucking mess. But I just really hate that it it just overshadowed all these
Yeah.
other cool things that were
It did.
big moments. So that's where I'm.
And that's really selfish too that
unfortunate,
he
yeah.
did that to overshadow these important accomplishments that people have worked so fucking hard to achieve. How dare you do that?
I think in the moment, he wasn't thinking.
Well, who knows what he was thinking? I mean, people say he laughed at the joke initially.
He did. I
did.
saw it.
And the people have speculated that he took one look at Jada rolling her eyes and said, "Oh, I better do something, or this chick is going to be upset at me because I laughed at the joke."
Right.
So
Right.
in order to make up for that, I don't know what's going through his mind.
There is a time and a place for this kind of thing. I mean,
Now,
he has known Chris Rock a long time. They've done other things together. Jada's done things with Chris Rock. They did that Madagascar. They know each other. Okay.
well, that may be
I
just
mean-
it. They may not like each other. I don't know what
I don't
history
think
they have
don't
together.
like each other, but out of respect, he could have pulled Chris Rock to the side afterwards and said, "Yo, man, why,
Yeah.
why are you disrespecting?"
Well, or he could have done it during. Now he didn't know he was going to win, but I'm sure he knew he'd have ample opportunity to have a microphone and to discuss this.
Well, even if he got on stage and grabbed the mic and spoke out, it's very different than getting on stage and hitting someone. You assaulted someone.
I agree with you too, Juanita. I think Jada Pinkett Smith does not need anybody to fucking defend her. She's fine.
she's tough, yeah.
She can
She's
stick
a-
up for herself.
Also, people are making a lot of the fact that Chris Rock he's not quite as small as I am, but he is not the biggest guy in the world. He's a fairly slight guy, I guess, and Will's a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And people have made the point over and over on social media that if this had been The Rock that made that joke, he wouldn't have slapped it, which I think is likely true, but that's sort of how the world works. And that's why we're not in Russia right now.
I'm so happy you're
Because we
bringing
know
this up.
that they could inflict damage. I mean, people don't generally pick fights with people that
Here's
can
the
destroy
thing.
them.
You need to read someone's. I've learned at an early age to read someone's body language, read the situation around me. If you watch, I watched that at least 3 times and in slow motion because I couldn't believe that really happened. But if you look at Will's body language, he gets on stage with his head down, walking as if I know I'm about to do something. This was calculated. He thought.
Well,
about
obviously,
this
when he
before.
walked up on stage, he had made the
He
decision.
walked
It
it's
wasn't.
it's not like if when you're angry, you rush and things happen quickly. You rush the stage and hit him. You know, he walked calmly over to Chris Rock, had his head down like, I know I'm about to do something I'm not supposed to do, smacks him, then looks up at Chris like, are you going to do something back? And then just walks away. This is a total calculated act.
I don't think anyone
he sat in
is
his
debating
seat, laughed at a
that,
joke.
that,
I mean, it's not...
that he knew what he was about to do.
Well,
but
people are saying he
what?
did it out of anger, you know, kind of like, you know, he was so kind of distraught that he didn't know what he was
Bullshit.
Well, look, he could have been angry and at the same time calculated. I don't think the
Okay,
two
well,
are mutually
control
exclusive,
yourself.
But fine,
But that's
we're
what the-
all in agreement.
But
there.
that's where the size comes in.
We're all in agreement there. And now we've moved on to
this.
the issue of Chris Rock's size and whether he would have ever done this to somebody who he thought might strike back.
This
And-
is the truth. Size doesn't matter, okay? The truth is that he knows Chris. He knows Chris is not an aggressive person like that. He knows that Chris would have never... Chris is not like that. He knows that.
Would he have done that to Jerry Seinfeld?
Well, Jerry Seinfeld's also not a physical person, but he's a white person. So that's another.
There's also that. Yeah.
I mean, would he have done this to a white person? And if not, why not?
Let me see. Well, like I feel like am I answering all the black questions? No, but
Well, I
No,
feel like
Juanita.
Well,
no,
I
Juanita is.
could.
First of all, you sized people up. He sized him up, okay, before he did this.
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah. People know who they can. You know, people know who
Yeah.
they can pick on.
What you can
know.
get away with.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and yeah.
Well,
but-
I'm really
yeah.
surprised that me
But-
said
but-
that they asked him to leave and he didn't
Well,
leave.
well, we get to
That's
that. We get to
mortifying.
that later. I
article.
want to
Yeah.
address the issue of whether he would have done this to a white comedian. Jerry Seinfeld being a good person to pick, because Jerry Seinfeld's another person that you don't have to worry about hitting you back. Probably, it's hard to imagine Jerry Seinfeld hitting you back, and certainly hard to imagine Jerry Seinfeld hitting you back effectively. So,
I don't think that's the right question.
well, it's a very.
I think, would he have done that to Joe Rogan?
No, we know the answer
I
is
mean,
that's why it's the right question, because we know he probably wouldn't have. The question is let's talk about the racial aspect of it.
Yeah.
Would he have done this to a white comic of a similar size and
I think he
profile?
would have, okay? Honestly, I think he would have. I don't
my
think race
gut
has
my,
anything
my
to do
gut
with
tells me he would not have.
No,
That's what my gut tells me.
Yeah, and I also think that if it had been a white person, I do think somebody would have intervened too, like for sure. Like I think that somebody in that
Yeah.
room would have been like, "Oh, we've got to send
Yeah.
someone up."
Well,
to
that's
to stop.
Well,
That's
that's
interesting.
perhaps why
Yeah.
my gut tells me he wouldn't have hit a white comic, and for the following reasons. Number one, he might have felt the repercussions would have been greater. That he was taking it to a level that, rightly or wrongly, he might have felt that to hit a white man would have had greater repercussions. Number
Which is sad.
So
That's so
disgusting.
sad.
well, I don't know if that's true. That's a supposition.
No,
And
no, I know, it's
Number
disgusting.
two, he might have. I think sometimes people are just, when it's your own community, you feel more betrayed, and it cuts deeper. When it's somebody who's outside your community, you're not close to, and I'm assuming he has no relationship with Seinfeld, and you're like, whatever, I don't know.
I
this
think you make
guy.
a valid point. If it's someone in your own community, your brotherhood, you feel a little more. But I mean, we're talking about a G.I. Jane joke. This was not that.
Yeah, it
serious.
yeah, the joke was. I mean, when I was like, "Who wrote that dated ass reference?" Like, I had to go look. I was like, "What year did that movie?"
Well, yeah, I
come
mean,
out
I don't know
that
how
weird?
old you are, but when you're, I'm not going to ask.
No, I'm grown.
But I mean,
I remember when it came out.
I think that this is an interesting point too, because people, like somebody said to me, yeah, what the fuck is he making a joke about a 25-year-old movie?
Yeah.
I said, Chris is so old, and he's not much older than me. We're so old that we forget how long ago this shit was. And
That movie was about 20 years
It
ago.
came
And
out
let
in
me tell you
97.
no, it's
something.
25 years ago. But the point
97.
is, when you're a certain
Yeah.
age, time goes so quickly, and things pass that you forget that these dated references are dated.
Right.
And I do that too sometimes on stage. I'll throw out a reference. I threw out a Hogan's Heroes reference, which is a lot more extreme. But you do forget how old you are, and you forget that to a young person, 25 years is a long time.
You think Chris dated himself? You mean? I mean, like Jada and
I
Sam
think
are his-
Chris.
in
I
his
think
age
Chris, in
group.
his mind, didn't realize that for half the audience, he might as well have said Mrs. Miniver. or one of those movies.
But
You know,
who wrote the joke? Like, y'all,
Well,
that's what
I
I'm
think
curious about.
I think
Like,
it was just off.
It,
Yeah,
it
I
might have been
think it
off.
was
Was it off the
I
cuff?
think
think
so.
it was off the
Because I know
cuff.
people keep saying, I keep, the internet, people are like, no, it was, it was a staff joke. It was somebody wrote it. And I'm like, who? I don't know.
I
Like,
I
where
think it
did
was
come
off
off
the
the
cuff.
cuff.
First of all, Jada looked amazing and
She does,
beautiful,
yeah.
even with that bald head.
Well,
And then when
that's
I-
another point that's been made is it an insult to compare somebody to G.I. Jane?
No, because Demi Moore was just beautiful as well.
Yeah. But I
So,
also
don't
think
know.
that for, even though it is sort of ridiculous that a woman rocking a bald head is a statement, whether or not you have a medical condition or not, showing up to that kind of an event with a shaved head, as her daughter did, I'm imagining, in support of her, that is a statement. So the fact that it
Many
attracts
women now
attention,
shave their heads.
but
It's
it's-
a total. I almost did it. I mean, I had a crew cut for.
I
like,
know, but it's a thing. Like, people still are like, oh shit, that girl has a shaved head. With a guy, nobody even bats an eye when they see it. So it's not that.
I think it's a little less now. It's
It
more
is less now,
fashionable to have.
but
a
it's
bald
still a statement, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it's a bold look for a woman.
Yeah, it's bold.
It's bold, and so it's not that shocking that it would attract attention, right?
Right.
Do
and
you-
from Jada's bold and outspoken.
Right.
And,
What would
know,
you say if I was, in general, comics picking on women in the audience? As a general, it's different context. It's people that kind of all know each other. But as a general matter, if I were to make a comment about a woman being heavy or being tall or being short or anything, what would you say about that? Would you say that was appropriate?
I think that in general, I think talking about somebody's appearance is not that interesting or compelling, and making like a fat joke about somebody in the audience is, I think, in really bad taste. I would never do that. But so yeah, it wasn't the greatest joke, but like that, again.
Well, but there's a difference because he was comparing her to a woman that one could argue looked very attractive.
Sure.
So I'm just making a separate point that is going after a woman's looks
No, it's not.
as
cool.
a general matter, something that a comic should never do.
I don't know if it's never do, but I think it's like, if that's what you have to resort to, like, you should have better material.
I think it just depends. I think it depends. Like, I personally, I'm not gonna trash anybody's appearance in the audience or anything. But if someone says something to me,
Mhm.
then I feel pretty good about being like, all right, I'm gonna say something very accurate and specific if I need to. But I'm not just gonna start
Right,
like
that
that.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But typically at these events, they roast each other.
Everybody, yeah, they roast
And
people all the
that's just
time.
a
It's
part
a
of
different
what it
environment.
is.
What if you
Right.
had heard Dan Naturman? There was a woman in the front row, and her teeth were all fucked up, and she said, "Hey, you got summer teeth." Dan Naturman said, "You got summer teeth. Some are here, some are there." and I certainly didn't.
I would
write.
be like, she's on meth.
and the boyfriend smacked me. Would you rush to my defense?
Yes.
Or would you say maybe they shouldn't have smacked Dan? But I mean, he
No,
was-
she shouldn't have sat in the front row.
Listen,
With
With
those
the- with-
with those summit teeth.
you don't sit in the front row with
You don't
summer
have
teeth.
all your teeth. You sit in the back.
Oh, she had all her teeth. She had all her teeth.
and
They
you
were just just
Okay,
not
if you-
crooked.
if
They
your
were crooked.
teeth are.
Summer teeth.
there-
If you have
well,
summer teeth.
We're gonna get
Yeah.
You
canceled.
sit in the
for
back
this.
in
But
the
they-
dark,
We're gonna get canceled.
and you don't sip from your drink.
I would have if I had heard that a comic.
Stay there first.
You just
If I heard
watch
if I heard of a story about a comic that made fun of a woman in the front row teeth and got smacked, I would say, what a dummy for going there. I wouldn't have defended the smackdown, but I would have said this is really an idiot.
Oh, come on. First of all, you shouldn't have got hit. And in a
No,
comedy
but I
club,
would- but
it's
that-
very
that-
different. The
I
setting is-
understand, but we're changing the topic just a little bit because I think it's a conversation that might be of some interest to people. Is as a comedian to make fun of a woman's looks is just something I don't know that I would ever go there unless it was if she was wearing a weird dress, something that didn't have to do with a permanent physical,
The question is, do comedians do that? I've been around a long time. I've seen them do that.
Generally speaking, we don't go
Okay.
after female appearance.
Well, I've seen when they're out of material and they're looking for stuff, they'll look for anything to say. I've seen comedians do
But
that. Does that give
typically,
the right for someone to get up and smack him?
Typically
No.
not a female's appearance. That's almost never done.
I
I'm
didn't
not
know
saying it's
that
never
was
done.
a rule, Dan.
It's not a rule. It's just prudence. Prudence dictates you don't want to get your ass whooped.
Just saying. I didn't know that was a rule.
There's no rule.
I
The
think
rule
that-
is what do you think the audience will accept, what will get you laughs,
think in
and what will get you
comedy-
groans, and what might possibly get you hit. Because
In comedy,
They're-
everything's on the table. I've heard bad
Well-
jokes. Do you remember when Disney had that alligator? I forget which comedian. it was.
Yeah, Sam Morril.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I
This is
remember.
a
Terrible.
I remember
classic
that.
story.
I thought, oh my God, this is the day after it hit the news, and he joked about this alligator eating this baby. I mean,
Do you
that
remember
couldn't have been
that?
the worst.
yes, I remember.
What
that.
was the joke?
I mean,
I forgot the joke, but it was a joke about an alligator that I guess killed a 2-year-old or a. I don't know.
Yeah, it ate
wa-
the baby.
was,
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible, but no one jumped on the stage to smack him. You know what I mean? It's like,
But
I'm
I'm just saying,
sure-
if you go downstairs and you watch shows, you could probably go years without seeing a male comedian or a female comedian making fun of a female comedian's physical appearance. It's just something
A female
typical-
audience member.
A female audience's, I'm sorry, appearance. It's just
you
something
only make
we.
fun of the males. Is that what you're saying?
I typically don't, but yes, people do are more likely to make fun of a male's appearance. I have called out men that are bald because I have a joke about being bald. Ironically,
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't use it on Jada.
and I will, in a lighthearted way, say, I heard they're going to cure baldness, sir. I'm not looking at you necessarily, but I heard they're going to cure, and then I go into my joke about curing baldness. But I must say that I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore because it's now in my head.
Well, did you know that Will Smith made a joke about
Yes.
baldness on the Arsenio?
Yeah,
show,
years ago I saw
and
that
it
clip.
didn't go over well either.
But, male baldness and female baldness are obviously different. For a female, it can be devastating if it's not a on-purpose thing and she is losing her hair. It certainly can be devastating.
Okay, so it's
I'm not-
devastating. The Holocaust was devastating also. Larry David opened up Saturday Night Live with a joke about it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that
Look, losing
I'm
your
just
hair
saying
is
that
emotional.
I'm just saying that getting my ass whooped is something that has crossed my mind. And I don't want to be rude, and I also don't want to hurt people. So anyway,
Yeah, I don't want to fight anybody.
the point has been made that now it's open season on comics. I've seen this point made. I haven't made it, but the point has been made that this is a bad precedent. Do
Yes.
you feel more vulnerable? We only have one comic here tonight,
No,
besides
I don't,
me.
I don't feel vulnerable.
What am I?
No, I don't.
Oh, I forgot
I'm
Periel
the
does do
only
comedy.
non-comic here.
Okay, so to our comedians, Periel, who's a relatively new comic, but a comic nonetheless,
Fair
and to
enough.
Mia, do you feel that this endangers to let him get away with this, to not have arrested him or at least thrown him out, it puts comics in greater danger?
Well, let me just say this. Okay. Now I have. When I saw it initially, I was like, "Oh no! Like this might be something that people will feel free to do." But then the more I thought about it, I was like, "No, I think people in real life who are regular people who are not millionaires, because that's the other thing I've been saying about all of this is where I'm like, all this shit that they did, that's above my pay grade. I don't really have any. That's why I don't really have a lot to say about it, because I'm like, that's rich people shit. I'm not a rich person, but I do know a regular person that's just sitting in the audience that's making regular money. They know that the threat of getting their ass whooped is real. So I'm like, I don't think anybody in the audience, I mean, I think they
Oh,
might.
that's interesting.
They might feel like it, but I'm like, you're not really gonna come up here on stage because I'm 6 feet tall, and even though I don't fight, I'm like, I'll punch a bitch in the face. Like I don't want to do it, but I'm like,
but I will.
you really, yeah, I don't want to, but I don't think it's gonna cause a rash of people to start coming on stage. I mean, I think, and people are always gonna heckle, but I don't think they're gonna look at Will Smith and be like, oh, now I can do that thing too. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think regular people are like,
Periel,
I can see you outside.
I think you made a valid point. He's rich and he's privileged. I mean, even when you walked in and said, hey, they asked him to leave and he was like, no, I'm not leaving. Only some rich, privileged black man is going to be like, no, what you going to do?
Or rich privileged people, period.
Yeah,
Like, because the
period.
rich people
Yeah,
problems
yeah,
are,
I agree with
they're
that.
just so different. It's not.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
said
Very
it was
entitled.
white
Well-
privilege.
well,
It was,
what was that?
Will somebody I don't remember who made the joke, but somebody said it was what Will Smith was having white privilege.
Well, I mean, the truth is I have heard stories of comedians that have been assaulted. Very rarely. I don't know how many years I'll hear a story of this comedian got hit. I did see a comedian here, right here at the Comedy Cellar, wasn't hit, but was threatened. I think Kurt Metzger might have been either hit or threatened. it does happen, but I don't think that this is going to make it happen more. I don't think people are going to look at Will Smith. Oh, now we can hit people now.
No.
I don't know.
I don't see that connection.
In all the years that I've been doing stand-up, I've had one person walk on a stage while I was performing. And I thought about this in the past couple of days, and it was a college show, and I remember just standing there, and the kid wasn't even there the whole time, so it wasn't like I had been messing with anybody or saying anything, but kid's in the back of the room, and he just is kind of standing there and nodding his head to the side, and I could see him, and I was like, what is this person doing? And then I started seeing them approaching the stage, and in my head, I'm like, this kid isn't really gonna walk on stage while I'm here. But as soon as he got closer, like my insides, I definitely started going like, oh boy, I might have to fight this child. Like I might have to fight somebody's kid because I don't know what this kid is doing. And so, and my boyfriend happened to be on the stage, and he was off to the side, and we both kept giving each other the eye, like, what do you do? Like, what do we do right here? And then like the kid keeps coming, and he gets this close in front of, like, walks while I'm performing. And then I was like, yo, like, what is going on? And he walks off the stage, comes back again, and walks behind me. And I was like, is somebody going to get this kid? I said, if nobody from this school, if there's no security, I'm like, if there's no student advisor, I'm like, somebody that works with us, if you don't get this kid and he touches me, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm like, this isn't going to be good for any of us. But in my head, a bunch of things were going through my head because I was like, man, like, if this does not go well, then these people are going to report me, to my agency. They're going to be like, she fought a child, it's going to be all these different, but a bunch of stuff is going through your head.
You're like, who's here protecting?
Yeah. And then finally, when he got ready to come back a third time, then the person that worked at the college was like, no, I could see them like, you can't go back up there. And I'm like, and you shouldn't have been able to do it in the first place. But I mean, but in all the years I've been doing stand-up, that's the only time that's ever happened. And I mean, and I will say this, like, the Cellar is probably the only place where I feel like I'd be fine because other clubs don't care at all.
Yeah,
like, it's
we
other
don't
places.
Nobody has security except for the Cellar.
Yeah.
I mean, you perform at other clubs and literally anything could happen.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally anything, and you're just fucked.
Yeah,
But even then, it usually doesn't.
Well, can you imagine?
But it has. And
can you
sometimes
imagine how Chris felt on the stage? He's like, okay,
Well,
Will
he-
just walked up here, and you actually hear him go, uh-oh. Like,
Well-
he didn't know what
Right,
to
what's
expect.
happening?
I don't think he thought he didn't see that coming.
I don't
No,
think he
he
saw
didn't
that
see that
coming.
coming.
But when it happened, I'm pretty sure he felt like somebody out there is going to protect me. This is the Academy Awards. And they did nothing.
Well,
Let this man sit through the
I don't think. I mean,
entire show.
they certainly
bunch of
didn't.
stuff.
This is Will Smith. This is a huge Hollywood star. The fact that he went up on stage. What are you going to do? Tackle him? You don't even know what he's about to do. They probably thought these are two old friends, and he's just going to go. He's just going to come up to Chris and go, "Dude, you're out of line," or whatever. Or they were going to do some skit together.
It's crazy. It's just
Nobody anticipated that.
like I said, a bunch of stuff will go through your head in that moment. I mean, like,
But Chris probably thought,
Yeah.
all right, I mean, it's
Just
Will
like,
Smith. He's not going to hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
I-
this guy. He's not going
Yeah.
to hit me. He did.
Unless there's some background shit. I know that they've had, I think, issues in the past because, well, Chris did make a joke about Jade about 4 years ago or something.
It was the 2016 Oscars.
Yeah, or 6 years ago. So maybe they have had words. I don't know what their relationship is. Another aspect of this that I want to get to, and then I think maybe we've hit every point, is recently. Well, it's all been recently. Jim Carrey expressed disgust that people gave Will a standing ovation when he won the Oscar. At a minimum, they should not have given him a standing ovation. They should have expressed some degree of of disapproval. And it seemed like they did the opposite. They were on his side and they gave him a standing ovation.
We're talking about Hollywood here.
Do you agree with Jim Carrey?
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Hollywood is, I mean.
Look at Hollywood. They protected pedophilia for all these years. They protected Harvey Weinstein. They protected Cosby. Come on.
Yeah.
You think
But
they were gonna do
but now we're dealing with two huge stars. So, they have to take sides one way or the other, and they appeared to take the side of Will.
I mean, yeah, they've taken the side of everybody else. I mean, so I'm not surprised that there was a standing ovation. Yeah, because it's like all these other people. What Roman Polanski has an Oscar.
Mhm.
Woody Allen. All these different people. Like they're not.
They don't actually care.
Has
don't
anybody
care.
seen that?
Yeah, they don't
Yeah,
care.
but like
They don't
the
care.
people in the audience are their peers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're the people who are supposed to have your back and
Well,
kinda
but they're
protect
Chris's
you.
peers and they're
And
Will's
that's
peers.
right. And that's what's so disturbing is when they got up. I was disappointed at that in many ways because it's in Hollywood. I kind of feel like nobody has an opinion. They just go with what they think everybody else is doing, which is shitty.
'Cause they
You
wanna
know
keep
what I mean?
working.
They want to keep working whatever it is. They don't want to upset anybody, and they just go with the flow. It's like nobody has the courage to stand up for what's right.
What should the Academy have? And I
They
think
should have escorted
they should have
him
escorted
out.
him out.
Yes.
And if necessary, with security.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
And they should have stopped the whole. I mean, like as soon as it happened, they should have just cut the feed. Like they should have just been like, you put up one of those Oscars, we'll be back in a like you do something.
There's so
like,
many ways. Like
Yeah.
I own a comedy club. I would have walked over. I want to tell you exactly what I would have done. I would have had someone walk over and say, "Mr. Smith, we need to take you to the back to have a conversation with you." Him first, and then everyone else after. Say, "Listen, we can't allow you to return back into that room because of A, B, C, and D."
They could have said, "Look, if you win an Oscar, Baldy, I mean your wife, can receive it for you."
Yeah.
Right. That's a great
So we'll
question.
have someone else receive it for you. And they didn't do that. I mean, what do you mean refuse?
That's
And
a
this
great
is crazy
question,
to
though.
me.
Juanita, what would you do
We
if
have
that
situations
happened
like
in
that
the
all
club?
the time. We have shows all the time. We try not to disrupt the show. And I get them trying not to disrupt the show. It's live. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have said, "Listen, hey, we're throwing you out." I would have said, "Listen, we need to come to the back. We need to have a talk with you." And at that moment, when he's not in front of everyone, I would have said, "Listen, we can't allow you back in here because of, whatever."
Well, what if now? Of course, we do have stars of that stature that come here to the Comedy Cellar. Say Chris Rock is on stage, Will Smith is in the audience. Will smacks Chris Rock
Yeah.
here at the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah.
She
yeah,
just said that's what
You-
she would have
you-
done.
Absolutely. That's what I would have done. But, that didn't happen at the Academy Awards. I mean, Denzel Washington, all these other actors went over to talk to Will. And that was strange to me. I mean, the Academy Awards is not paying them to be security there. They should have had someone walk over to him and say, "Listen, I need you to come to the back so we can have a quick talk." You don't want to upset him any further. Obviously, he was upset and he was enraged, whatever it is. And then while he's out of the room, say, "Listen, we can't let you back in there." We do
Yeah.
that all the time. It's like 101.
Yeah,
It's
it really is. It's pretty standard operating
pretty
procedure.
standard, but
The idea of the idea of if it had come to police or some sort of security force forcing Will out of the auditorium, the idea of a black man being led.
No, I don't think they should have done that.
Well, but that's might have been in their minds that this might be what it comes to.
could have been just like I said. It could have just been a cut the feed so we can address this. Because again, rich people.
But
shit.
what?
So,
But if
I mean,
Will had refused to leave the room, as I guess he did, according to the latest,
that's what the article said.
or should they have physically removed him, or the idea of
No.
physically
Yeah.
removing a
No.
black icon from the
Physical.
room would have been?
No, it could have just been.
Yes, get him the fuck out of there. He
No,
just
you're
not
not going
a
to physically
physical-
remove
no.
anyone.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
you
that's-
just assaulted somebody.
But
assault-
Juanita, if you're not going to physically remove him, then we're back to square one because apparently they asked
I'm
him.
telling you, 99% of the time, what I first said works. I
yeah.
don't know what's
to
going to
talk
happen.
to someone.
Listen, we're going to have a quick talk. Your family's still sitting there, and you just get them out one at a time. It's like, listen, this is what. Listen, even worse, he posted all those things on Instagram, went to an after party, partied up like nothing was wrong. You know what I mean? Like there is no real consequences for this man.
And
Yeah.
the most egregious thing is that he was dancing to "Getting Jiggy With It," which is one of the worst songs of all time. That made me so angry. I was like, ugh.
Well, is it worse than
Ugh. Gross.
than his song from back in the 80s? Parents Don't Understand. What was that song?
No, that's different. That song, everything he did up until Summertime, solid. Anything Getting Jiggy With It, I'm like, that was disgusted. That's what I was like, ugh. Like you couldn't, that song, that's what you choose to celebrate? Jiggy? Ugh. Gross.
But also,
Ugh, I hate it.
Mia made a really good point that about protecting black women as something that we sort of glossed over, which I think is worth discussing because I was on CBS News discussing this yesterday or the day before, which makes me, as I said, an authority figure on this. But Wally Collins was one of the comics who was on the thing with me, and he said if he really wanted to protect his black woman, what he should have done was taken Jada's head and given it a kiss
Mm-hmm.
and not reacted in violence. And I feel like there's this trope, and it's very common in domestic violence also, that you triggered me. It's your fault that I hit you. If you hadn't done that, then I would not have hit you or yelled at you or whatever. And it's really inexcusable to put your hands on another person in that way. And I think that at the end of the day, that is really just the fucking bottom line.
Well, I'm happy that you're talking about that because I think Will has a little bit of PTSD. Like I come from a home, we talked about this last week. I don't know if you know that. I come from a home that had a lot of domestic violence and drug abuse and things like that. And Will and Jada both grew up in that type of home too. Will grew up in a home where he watched his dad beat up his mother. And he was a child. He couldn't really do anything about it.
Right.
But these kinds of things, you don't get cured from it. That lives and stays with you every single day. That lives and stays with me every single day. I deal with that every single day. And it's something that he needs to work on.
Yes.
You know, this is kind of what you go to therapy for, what they're always talking about on their show, you know, the healing and, you know, letting this, it got so out of hand. And I do feel bad for him because I know that they come from this abusive home.
Yeah,
But,
I can sympathize with that, but I don't think that it's still inexcusable.
Well,
right?
so
Absolutely, it's inexcusable,
what
but-
consequences, if any, do you think should be dealt out to Will Smith? He apologized. I'll take.
What
his
did
word.
he type something on fucking Instagram?
Okay, fine,
it.
fine. Then
And that was
what
the other
more?
thing
What
that-
more do you feel should be done? If you feel the apology,
There has to be consequences. The Academy Awards should not invite him back. I think that it should be done.
There should, I don't know, but there should be some sort of ramification.
Especially if they asked him to leave and he didn't want to leave. And I mean, it's just a buildup of, hey,
Mia, you say
What are my
Well,
thoughts?
what
He should go sit in the corner for an hour.
What would be
Jason
what would be
Momoa.
appropriate to?
You should be banned.
What would be appropriate? I mean, this thing in general. I mean, it's like I said, it's a big, gigantic mess. But this is also just, there's this industry thing. There's this that has all been ruined for years. It's all a cesspool in general. So I think just the way that people think about what's the quote unquote appropriate way to do something, with all that industry stuff swirling around, I don't think that they even know what the right way to handle any of this kind of stuff is, because again, nobody was expecting. Nobody expects to get slapped anyway. I mean, I do because I'm in New York and I just figure somebody might slap me one day. But just in general, you know, like at an event like that, you don't think that's going to happen, and you certainly don't think that Will Smith is going to be the person to slap anyone just because of how he's carried himself throughout his entire career. But I'm saying, I think just because Hollywood, again, like you were just saying, like they protect everybody. Like monsters have been protected. So it's like, if they don't know how to handle something that's really like despicable and disgusting, then they're probably like, well, what's a slap? What do we do in a
right.
what do we do here? Like we let rapists have Oscars, so how do we? Well, we'll handle it all the same way, because I just don't. It like, I think the Hollywood stuff, like, it's just not normal. Like it's not the same thought process that we would have as regular people that are going around living in everyday life, where we're like, oh, this thing should have consequences. When you have money, what are consequences really?
Right.
When you have money? What? There are none.
Right.
Well,
There are none.
except jail. I mean,
Yeah, but there are none.
Even-
Like he won an Oscar. There are no consequences.
well,
He'll-
I suppose
he'll-
they could
he'll get another great movie.
they could ban him for life from future
He can
Oscars.
still
not-
win. Didn't
Right.
Roman Polanski win when he wasn't there? He can still win. He'll still get work. He's not gonna not get work.
I have a question.
There are no consequences.
Yes, one.
So Chris Rock did not press charges. I
Right.
mean, we all saw this. I mean, I saw it 3 times slow motion on TV. I mean, don't you think that the cops could have arrested
They
him
could
anyway?
Yes.
I mean,
you don't
they
have to, because
need-
a little bit of legal theory here.
Yes.
A criminal case is there's no plaintiff. It's between the state and the accused. The state of California and Will Smith in this case. They don't need Chris Rock. He doesn't even need to testify. It's all on tape. So the DA has to decide: do we prosecute? It's really the DA that presses charges, not people use the term press charges. That just means I'm going to complain. I'm going to be a witness.
Right.
So the
they
DA
don't-
has to decide.
They don't need Chris Rock to press
No,
charges.
no, they don't.
Can arrest him.
They
if
can
they
arrest
wanted
him if
to.
they wanted to, but the DA has a lot. The DA's got a lot of shit that they got to do, so they got to make decisions. Do we really want to spend the time and the resources to go after something that's small potatoes that even the victim doesn't seem to care about? I mean, if Chris.
Well, Jim Carrey said that he would have sued him for $200 million.
Well, that's a suit. That's a lawsuit. And a
That's
lawsuit is a
different than
separate
being
thing.
That's a civil suit.
That's a civil suit. It's not criminal. And I don't think Chris is going to do that. I don't think Chris is.
No, he said he's not.
No. I think he would
Said
be.
he's not suing.
What if this was all just
He's
a
not
reboot of
Jewish.
a new season of Red Table Talk? What if that was?
Well,
just
I don't know
the
anything
They
about
tried to have a spinoff on that show. They tried to have like
What is Red Table Talk? That's
it's
Jada's.
Jada's show. And
Jada's show.
listen, I love that show because they really lay it all out on the table. They talk about all this personal stuff within their family.
They do.
And
Just very weird. to
Well,
me.
apparently they
It's
have an
weird,
open.
but I kind of appreciate it because I'm kind of like, oh my god,
Do
they're
you
not
believe
just.
it though?
Yes, I do.
They have an
It
open
seems so
open
weird.
marriage.
Yeah.
Apparently, this
I mean,
is obviously
her,
what
her
everybody's
mom
talking
and her
about.
daughter are on this show. Her mom was a former drug addict, and so and they talk about all this stuff on the show, and I think it's real and it's really open. I enjoyed that. They tried to do a spinoff with Gloria Stefan and her family.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
terrible.
Vaguely, I remember.
And Emilio Estefan.
No, not Emilio, just the women. You know, the show is for women.
Oh, okay.
It's the women hosts. Like,
Somebody-
It's the grandma, the mom, and the daughter.
What if they were just like, yeah, it's time for us to get a new season, so let's kick this off with a great episode.
Well, this
Maybe.
This is the way to do it.
I don't think. I mean, people have
I'm just
hypothesized that it was staged, but I certainly
So
don't
on
think that
this
was
show,
the case.
they
I don't
have
think it was
laid
staged.
out all kinds of stuff about them. Even the affair that Jada had is on
The
this show.
entanglement.
Yeah, she called it an entanglement.
And it's like you're worried about a joke about her bald head.
Well, look,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
people
I
have made
mean-
that point, but I don't know that the two things are related.
Well,
they have a understanding that they can have extramarital sex. That's between them.
No, I don't think either one of them are happy. I mean, if you saw this
Yeah.
episode where they're talking about this, you see Will's.
yeah.
I mean, he looks like
yes, that was.
he looks terrible.
Yes, he was not okay with that.
Not okay with it. I think that
Well, anyway, I think we have pretty well covered the subject because there are some other things going on that I do want to discuss, and we don't have too much time. But first of all, I want to give Mia a chance if she has anything she wants to plug.
Guys, I'm starting a new show called Blue Table Talk, where
I
we
be
will.
on it?
Let's do it. No, no, I'm not. I'm not starting anything.
Well, I will be in Las Vegas next week at April 4th through the 11th at the Rio. Mia, you've done that, right?
I have done. Yeah, we did it together pre-pandemic.
Oh, that's correct.
We
That's
did,
correct.
yeah.
I'll be there with Jackie Fabulous this time.
Okay. All right.
And Michael Yo, I think, is going to be there from Vegas.
Yeah, it's a
Nice.
good time. I was there during Christmas and did a week, so it was fun. Although my boyfriend did catch COVID afterwards.
He did.
Oh no.
Yeah, but yeah, that was I didn't, which was very crazy. But yeah, we were. Yeah.
Is it like a mini vacation? You get to catch the shows in between your show? Like
No, it's not a mini
Yeah, I don't
vacation.
get any
No?
ti- yeah, I do more stuff. Like if I do stuff, it's just during the day, just because even the shows are what 7 and are they 7?
7 and 9.
Yeah. So you don't really get a chance to but it's still a good time.
If
I'll
it's
go and-
warm out, I mean, I don't know what the temperature's going to be next week. I guess pretty warm. I don't know if the pools are going to be open, but
I'm
I
sure
did.
they are.
One time I did go to the desert with Pete Lee and Dove Davidoff and walked at a little hike
the
in
Red
the
Rock
desert.
thing?
I'm not sure what it was. It was and
Did you guys do drugs in the desert? That's what
No,
they do when they
peyote or
walk out in the
something? Yeah,
desert,
yeah.
right? Don't they?
peyote or that other thing that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're
What other thing are they talking about?
I know that.
But it's not a vacation as far as I'm concerned. It's a job.
still working.
Not Alec. I was about to say Alec Baldwin. Bruce Willis is apparently retiring from acting
Yeah.
because he was diagnosed with aphasia, which, as I understand it, is usually a consequence of a stroke or a tumor. But we don't have those details. We just know that he has aphasia, which is some sort of, I guess,
You lose the ability,
ability
to
to
recognize language.
or something like that.
Wow.
And
So-
he's 67, a relatively young.
Yeah.
Wasn't it time
Man.
for him to retire? Don't you think? I mean,
No, I don't know if it's ever time to retire if you can still do the job.
how many die-hard movies can you come out with?
Well,
I
he can
mean,
do some other movies. I mean,
I don't know.
we got some siren going on in the background. But I mean,
It's-
Jack Nicholson went into his 70s, I guess, and Gene Hackman and a lot of people
Yeah.
continue.
He's still working.
He doesn't have to be the leading man or the action hero. He can morph into other roles that are more appropriate for that age. If he wants to, but
Yeah.
so it's obviously quite sad.
Yeah, Bruce Willis is amazing. Remember him on what was that show with Sybil Shepherd?
Moonlighting. Well, that was his.
Moonlighting, I
That was
yeah,
his.
I remember that.
Now, Mia, you can't possibly be old enough to have watched
remember-
I used
Moonlighting.
to watch that
Yeah,
show, yeah.
I was a kid when it was out. Yeah, I watched Moonlighting. I will not confirm or deny my age, but yes,
I
did see it.
I
I
never-
remember it as a kid.
I never really watched it because I think it was on at 10. Was
I
it on
watched
was,
it. I love that show.
Was it on at 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
So I mean, I was a little later than I was typically up in those days. But I was a big show.
Yeah.
I mean, was it on at 10? Can somebody confirm that?
Wasn't it on?
I can
think it was
look
an
at it.
ABC show. I think. Vague. I think.
Yeah, but I
remember
think
that
he's most
much.
famous for those Die Hard movies.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's what
And then
started him
Sixth
off.
Sense.
Oh, yeah, that was a
Yeah,
great movie,
it's
right?
A great movie.
It's
And-
really sad. It really is. Like you see somebody he's so like spry and in such I don't know, kind of like the prime of his life almost. And
Is that what they consider your primes?
I don't know, no.
Well,
but
not really the prime, but he's still young enough.
Yeah.
And we all know people in that age bracket that are still very dynamic.
Yeah.
But he did have,
Some can be, yeah.
You know,
Some.
well, most people that are 67 are still very well.
yeah, I mean that's like pretty young.
It's still
67.
very, very
I
much.
don't know. White men don't age well, so it's like,
It's true.
Well, they might not age well physically, but
That is-
like and
look,
it
we
may
know
not be
somebody.
good for TV.
You know, George's partner is. I mean, Noam's partner is about that age.
Yeah, George is an exception.
He's not an exception.
Yeah, yes.
He's not an
many-
exception.
many-
67. Usually, you still have all your. George is an exception insofar as his enthusiasm for life.
He's very fit.
He is.
But
He
I don't.
plays tennis. He's had knee surgery. I mean, that man is so fit.
But
I mean Bruce Willis seems like he was pretty fit too.
No, not lately.
I just saw him here actually not that
Really?
long ago.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
He was at the
Yeah.
cellar.
Yeah, with Jeff Ross and David
Really?
Tell. Yes.
Oh wow.
He was
Oh,
like
that's
playing
interesting.
like the
He didn't look old to
flute
you?
or something.
What?
And- yeah, I'm not kidding.
he's a
Or
flautist.
the recorder or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think he does play.
Yeah.
Outta here.
what's
He
that?
is-
They
Not
were
the
doing
recorder.
bumping mics
Wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
at the Village Underground.
That
How
was
did I
a
not
long
hear about
time
that?
ago.
It was right. It wasn't that long ago. It was like less than 5 years ago. It was before COVID.
Things can change in 5 years.
He did not look old. Number one, I don't know. I've always thought Bruce Willis was pretty sexy. I gotta say,
Really, you got the hots for.
Well,
Bruce?
not really, but you know, I mean-
Obviously, he was sexy. That's why he was in so many movies. They don't put you as the leading man in action movies if people don't
true.
think you're sexy.
fair enough.
I don't know. I don't like
Well,
older white bald men. I don't think they're.
Well, first of all, he wasn't always older.
He was.
I mean, he was in his
No.
30s
he always
during
looked
Moonlighting.
older. He was balding at a very
First
young age.
of all, you are married to an older white man.
Yeah,
what?
but-
What are you
we have
eating?
been together like 28 years. I mean, I've seen him when he had lots of hair, and now his hair is thinning. I mean, that I don't know. My husband's very attractive. Don't try to get me in trouble, Periel.
Once again, just to remind our listeners, her husband is our own Noam Dworman. Do you? I mean, Noam
My
is
husband's very sexy.
Noam is very much into
and he
politics.
plays guitar. That's just extremely sexy.
Noam is very much into politics. Right now, he is around the corner at a debate.
Shirking
for-
his responsibilities here.
Fair enough, but is that something that you find attractive about Noam, or is that something that you
The
don't?
politics?
The politics, his
No.
interest in politics.
God, no. Especially, we don't really share the same politics. We have like completely different backgrounds. It's crazy, but I love that he's this sexy guitar player.
So it's the
and
guitar playing.
Absolutely.
So, and you tolerate the political talk.
Yes. Sometimes.
Do you have? So you don't have political discussions in the
We
house.
have them all the time.
Oh God.
Periel's at my house. I'm like, I feel like we're on the show. Like, can we just stop talking? Yeah.
But you're at odds politically.
Yeah, we don't. Him and
Well,
I,
he's
we
more
don't-
in the center right, and I guess you far left. I mean, I thought
No,
you were.
I'm not left at all.
So you're a center left, or
I'm conservative.
so it sounds like your politics are pretty much
No.
in line.
We're okay.
I mean, so where do you differ though? If he's on the right, and
I don't know. I don't want to talk about.
Okay.
I was about to say, I feel like we're getting pushed into another topic.
We are getting pushed into another topic. Well,
It's like,
because
don't talk about it.
that's fine.
I will say that
I thought we had.
I
I was
political talk
because
with
you
Dworman
was
and Periel when they're at my
because you
house.
was saying
And
your
then I tell them
husband.
both to shut the hell up.
Because you had said your husband is sexy, so you opened the door now to talk about your husband and his guitar playing, and I was wondering if his political insight, if his debating was also
Anybody find that sexy? This political stuff? Do you turn on the news and like, oh, that dude is sexy because he's saying no?
There's not no.
Well, I probably some people do. I mean, women
No,
have
Those people are wrong.
Okay.
No.
Okay. No.
I think women,
What about you, Nicole? If you have anything to add? You're certainly not obligated.
My boyfriend plays guitar. I find that sexy. And
Woohoo!
he knows nothing about politics, which I also find sexy.
Is music sexier than funny?
Is me
Guitar playing sexier than funny?
yes.
And I mean, obviously, it's a subjective matter of opinion, but in your opinion,
I vote funny.
Periel votes
You
funny.
find funny men sexy?
Sexier than
Your husband's not funny, Periel.
He is actually.
He is?
He is funny.
well, he's funny to Periel, and that's all that matters.
He is funny. Yes, I think. I mean, objectively, like I recognize that, like being a rock star and that whole thing aesthetically, like, is kind of sexy.
Well, you're not a rock star, so you're just a very talented musician.
No, to me, like I'm funny is number one, which makes sense, right?
Well,
guess.
you are in that business, But some people in that business, they've seen so much funny that they're not impressed by it.
Listen, Dan, you get a lot of women who want to
Well,
get introduced. I've known Dan a long time. And I'll say, Dan, these girls over here, they really want to meet you. They're so into you. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, not me. Like, it's because you're funny. They find that sexy. They come to the shows and like, oh, we want to sit in the
Well,
front.
no doubt, many women do. But the question is it sexier than a guy who can play guitar, Mia Jackson?
Oh God.
This is all preference.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know her preference if I can ask.
Let me see. Now, if it comes to just a regular non-comedy man having a sense of humor, I'm okay. Like I'm like, yeah, I like a funny, smart guy. But do I like comedians as like, oh, that comedian's sexy? Ugh, no.
No.
That's the way I feel about getting jiggy with it. So, I'm like,
Is it because
no.
you guys are always on
I
with
think-
your comedy?
Yeah, and also, male comedians in general. Like, I've years ago, I was engaged to a man that was and I was like, this is a mistake. Like that. I was like, I was like, this is a bad. And I just remember going, if I get out of this, I'm like, never again. I was like, I
That's
will
hilarious.
never, ever.
You've
ever.
been with your boyfriend a very long
Yeah,
time.
my current, he's not.
Is he funny?
He is he's really funny. Yeah, but he would never do stand up because
Right.
he's very, very introverted. He also loves politics and it's
Oh.
stressful. Yeah, he loves it so much. But but I find creativity sexy. So he's a photographer. So I do I'm like,
That
oh,
is sexy.
I like that. But music versus comedy. I get the whole ooh, but yeah, but if it comes to if I had my choice, I'm gonna go with funnier over.
Well, here's the difference, perhaps, is that funny you can take anywhere. You could be driving your car, having a conversation, at dinner having a conversation, in bed having a conversation, and he can bring the funny. Whereas a musician only brings the music when he's bringing the music.
But
He's not. You're not at
Take a
dinner
little
having a conversation and he's singing or playing guitar. Typically,
Incorrect.
Plus, what I was gonna say,
Not
I-
in Juanita's
I was
house.
about to say, I've been on the train. People take music everywhere.
Yeah, music
here.
is everywhere. And Noam is actually really funny. He's quick with it too.
yes, Noam is.
Yeah.
But
But he also does
But
play
maybe
the guitar
I think
at the
for
table.
women who are Latin, like Latinas, I think funny is kind of like we don't get a lot of jokes or sarcasm. Like a lot of the jokes go over our heads. We take things a little too serious. Noam's like, it was a joke, right? He's always like, right. So a lot of times I don't get it, But
But you're
music is
funny
sexy.
too, though.
I am.
Yes, you are.
I don't think I am.
Well,
I don't mean to be, but
she
that's
has a
even
funny
worse.
character.
She's funny.
She's a funny personality.
And she's also
I don't know if she makes jokes per se, but she has a
no,
funny
she
way.
doesn't
Don't
make
make
jokes, but she's funny and she's sarcastic and she's quick and she makes like comments that are funny.
Oh, okay.
There are a lot of comedy couples. Now, I don't know if it's just because of proximity
Yes.
and people thrown together.
Yes.
Okay, that's who you meet, or it's because
Yes, it's proximity only.
it's proximity. Okay. We have, Rosebud is married to a comic, Rosebud Baker, and Tom Carter is married to a comic, and Tom Papa's wife used to be a comic, and Esther Steinberg and her husband are both
But do you
comics.
ever stop being a comic? I mean,
No.
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 Well, you
Natasha
could stop being a professional comic. Do you
Yeah.
stop having a personality of a comic? Probably not. you
Yeah.
know. But you might stop doing stand-up comedy, which very seldom happens. Mostly, you leave this business in a body bag. Generally, if you leave it at all.
Ah, that's so wow. That made me.
That was
sad.
dark.
Yeah, I felt good until I went. Oh, wait a minute. Wow.
Why? I think that's great. Look, isn't
But-
that
but-
like the best way to go? Like doing what you love until the very last minute. Look at Joan Rivers.
Yeah, I didn't mean for it
Yeah.
to be dark. I meant that most people don't stop being stand-up comics. Very seldom do they get out of this. It happens very rarely
But I
that
think
people simply go and do other things.
yeah,
I find it a little more interesting that a lot of comics will go out and get a college degree, become lawyers and nurses or whatever, and then they go, "No, I want to be a comic." I go, "Oh my God, how do they get from A to Z? It's such a leap." You know what I mean?
Well, comedy. I'll tell you how, because I did that. I have a
Right? I know.
you have to
because
go?
because
Sorry.
basically.
We'll
We'll end it up in a few. But because comedy's a dream that a lot of people don't acknowledge because they think it's silly or unattainable. And so they go in a normal direction. And a normal direction would be law school, it might be nursing, whatever it would be. And then they realize, no, this is not what I want. So it makes sense. Because like I said, I wanted to be a comedian, but thought this is ridiculous. It's a stupid idea. Nobody, no, who would do such a thing? Especially when you come from a family that isn't show business oriented.
Right. How did you spring that on your parents?
Well, I sprung it very gradually. I said, hey, I did an open mic. I was in law school. And I said, I did an open mic the other day. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I did another open mic. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm actually doing comedy regularly as I'm getting my degree. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not doing law. So it was a gradual buildup. And I have two older sisters that are normal people, for want of a better word. And so, my parents probably figured, well, at that point, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Noam did the same thing. Noam got a law degree and told his father, or his father said to him, as if I understand the story correctly, just get your degree and then you can do music.
You can do it
Because you have your degree. And that's what I did. I have my degree.
Yeah.
At this point, I've forgotten everything I knew, and I don't think it would be of much value, but I have the degree exactly as Noam did. And Noam has his law degree and then immediately became a professional musician, right? So
Yeah.
more or
a
less.
few months later.
So him and I followed a similar trajectory. It's not uncommon. But law school is also a place where a lot of people go just because they have nothing. They don't know what to do, and so they go to law school.
Yeah, but when you come from a minority family, that is not even like, I don't even see that shit happening. That is insane. That's white privilege right there.
Yeah, just
I got a
be a-
law degree, but I'm going to be a comedian. Oh, my Lord.
Or just-
My mom would take that shoe off. It would be. That would not. Come on. You pay for all of this and you're going to be a comedian? Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Hell no.
No.
Well, okay. That's an interesting point. You know,
The
No,
only
it
white
does.
people do that.
only white
Wow.
people do that. Okay.
White people are allowed to dream.
Well,
That's
but why you might argue that I had the pressure of of having to because I wouldn't have gone to law school perhaps if I weren't from a background where people do these sorts of things,
Mm-hmm.
and I might have just gone into stand up at a younger age, and perhaps that would have been better in terms of my career.
Well, I should take that white people thing back because I did speak to Ethan the other night, and he's
Ethan Simmons Patterson,
yeah,
a black
He's
man.
a nurse,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. Yeah.
and he was talking about I'm going to give up nursing and become a full-time comedian. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
TJ, I think, also had like I don't know, TJ, TJ,
Yeah.
I know. It's,
the Haitian guy.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
He had some sort of normal job, I think, for a kick
No,
his
I think
butt.
I asked him that the other night too. He was like, "No, right out of college."
Oh, that's right. You know what it is?
He's like, "I dropped out of college."
Yeah, he
I was
dropped
a
out of
comedian."
college. He dropped out of college. Well, you
Yeah.
could argue that's privilege that he dropped out of college. I don't know the situation, but anyway, maybe we'll ask him about it next time he's on the show.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I love TJ. He's the best.
He is.
Sweet man.
He's very smart and very insightful.
He was on the debate last week.
He was on the debate last week.
There was a debate about is comedy sort of the last hold. It wasn't really a debate. It was a discussion. Is stand-up comedy kind of like the last holdout of free speech in a society wherein free speech seems to be, being diminished? And he was on the panel.
But
Did you
I
ever-
love his take on things because he's not American. He's not from here. He's from
Yeah.
Haiti. And for him to have such a big perspective on what's going on, I was pretty impressed.
I guess we'll wrap that up. Nicole, did you enjoy today's discussion?
Yeah, this was fun.
Again, you can't tell with her. You can't tell with her.
She's
How
never
can you
gonna.
tell? We can't even see her.
No, but the tone of voice is like very.
She's
even.
never gonna tell you it sucks. I'm telling you.
I understand
right now.
that. So I have to go beyond what she's saying, and I have to rely on how she is saying it.
But she says it the same every time.
That's the problem. But I
Sometimes she'll rate it if you want.
sometimes I think she has a little more enthusiasm.
Does she rate the shows?
She doesn't.
If we ask
Nicole, what do you
her-
rate this show?
I'm forced to do it against my will.
Oh.
I think it was really good. And my voice just doesn't change from this ever, so it sucks. So I could be having the time of my life and sound like this, so it's not a good barometer.
It's a very
Oh.
calm voice.
That is a very
Yes, you should probably consider meditation apps.
That was so good. I was like,
Because now I'm feeling I'm insulted, but I'm also feeling calm. Anyhow, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Mia.
No,
thank
thank
you,
you.
Juanita
Thank
Dworman.
you for having me on the show.
Thank you,
Yes.
Periel.
Thank you.
Podcast at comedycellar.com if you have questions, comments, suggestions, the kinds of stuff you like to hear, the kinds of stuff you don't want to hear any more of. And I guess that is it. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
thanks.